You're now tuned into 13signsastrology.com. Let's get right into it. Let's get right into it on this one. Okay, we got this. Who is this clown that keeps leaving comments in the comment section? Like, somebody out there needs to figure out who this clown is and bring him to me. That keeps leaving comments like these racial slurs, calling me nigger and all of this stuff. Calling me a reptilian shapeshifter, and you change your avatar. Like, first his avatar was this avatar of something that looks like some gremlin. Then he changed his avatar to some white guy. Then he changed his avatar to someone looking to me. He actually went on my website or something, or went on one of my videos and copied and pasted and used me as an avatar. And he leaves these comments or whatever, and most of them are racial. I believe, really, my dude, I think you're actually a black dude that's doing this or whatever. I think it's a black dude that's doing this, and he's trying to act like he's white. That's what I think. You know what I'm saying? But whoever it is, man, like, somebody bring them to me and I'll put you in with me and you can get in the ring. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't hide behind avatars, and we can go at it, man. We can go at it. Me and you can get in the ring, and if you got a problem with me and a problem with what I'm doing, then we can go at it. You know what I'm saying? I come from a line of boxers, hitmen, assassins. Think I'm scared of you? You think I'm gonna stop doing videos because you leaving this shit? You really trying to distract the other listeners. So in this segment, we're gonna talk about species versus race. And then we may touch on a little bit of nationality in the course of that because it all kind of like intertwines. Now, when you call me a nigger, my dude, this is what you need to realize. You call me a nigger. Nigger means black, essentially, or nigga, or whatever you want to call. Some people say naga. Naga has nothing to do with nigga, by the way, because Naga was a group of priests, that came from India and that area. And these were a group of priests. These were the original, I guess you could say, priests that taught a lot about the Kundalini and the serpent energy and things of that nature. So they were called Naga priests or Naga priesthood. And I may do a video talking about that. It goes a little bit more in depth than that. But when you say nigga, essentially you're saying black. So you're calling me a black man. And I'm not black. People think I'm playing about this. Look. Do I look like, here's the color black in our reality, in this dimension. This is what black is. Do I look black? Just keep it real. Do I look anywhere? Am I even close to it? When you look at this, and I put my hand right here and all of that, and I'm not trying to be funny, I'm serious. Does my skin complexion match this? No, it doesn't. My hair may come close to matching that, but then there's so-called pale people or white people that have black hair. So my hair may come close to matching that, but when you say I'm a nigger, you're saying, I guess it's supposed to be some racial slur. That doesn't bother me, man. It's like you really more so have a problem with me. And like I said, we can get in the ring and we can just go at it straight up and down. So we'll just leave that at that. But let's really clear up this thing about race. That's what I want to do. What's going on with race? I mean, I really haven't broke it down. And it's time for me to break it down. And I'm going to do it Ram Hotep L fashion. If I step on your toes, I didn't mean to, but just put your toes in some ice or bucket of ice, and hopefully to numb the pain. Because Ram Hotep is going to speak his mind. I'm going to exercise this throat chakra of mine. I'm going to always say what I got to say. Always. That's just me doing me. Period. And race, there is really no such thing as race. See, that's what you guys get it twisted on. You guys are, especially Americans mainly, you guys are caught up on this white thing and this black thing and this Hispanic thing. What is this stuff? What is this stuff? Because I don't know what that stuff is. Like, what is a Hispanic? Where's Hispanic land at? Where's black land at? I know there's a country called Niger, or some people, you call it nigger, I guess if you want to call it that. There's a land called Nigger or Niger in Africa. And I thought that was dealing with the river. And that's why they named it that. It didn't have anything, it had to do with the land and the soil. It had anything to do with the way the people look. So where is this race stuff come? Where's black man land at? You feel me? So let's go into what it really, what how we should really classify ourselves as humans. And as you know, I teach that humans come from 24 different extraterrestrial races, if you want to call them races or species. Humans are a mixture Some of us may have more or less of this, but we're a mixture of 24 different extraterrestrial races or species. That's the first thing that you have to realize when you deal with the so-called race. This is why scientists have been trying to study and figure out this thing about where humans have came from for a long time. And they don't even have an explanation and a clue. So before you knock me, what I'm going to say here, and before you look at me like, like, man, he's just some guy up here making some stuff up about some aliens, you can't really go anywhere and get answers on where you came from as a species. You can't go to religion because they're going to teach you in religion. All the major religions believe that everybody came from Adam and Eve. Everybody came from Adam and Eve, and they started doing incest and mixed. They're supposed to be brothers and sisters, whatever. And they committed incest and start mixing in together, and they had Cain and Abel, and then that's how the story goes. But then when you research that, even in the Bible, you'll find out that there were other people outside of the enclosed garden. So where did those people come from? So and religion doesn't have the explanation of it. Then you'll go into science, and science teaches on evolution, and they teach how we were walking around on all fours, then we evolved, and we kept evolving, and they can't find what's called the missing link though, because there's this missing link that's supposed to link us. This how we jumped from being animals and walking on all fours, and then jumped into being humans and standing up as Homo sapiens and standing up erect. See, it's different classes of when we get into evolution. You have Homo erectus, and then you have Homo sapien, and they can't seem to figure out how we went from Homo erectus to Homo sapien. Then there's another class of when you study evolution, they're just finding this out. There's a class of humans that used to fly, and they're trying to figure out how these Homo sapiens was flying around. Like, what happened? It's because you guys don't want to embrace extraterrestrial involvement. Humans are arrogant and cocky because you want to just think that basically what you see is what you get, and us walking around here, we're the best, there's nothing more superior to us and all of that. But what you fail to realize, a lot of times when you're looking at what you think is a human, you're not. That might not be a human. You might be looking entertaining an ET or extraterrestrial. If you want people say, I want to see the aliens in the flesh, you can go see them. Go outside. There's plenty of them walking around. Some of them are demigods, or clones of aliens, or there's different classes of when you talk about ETs. There's different levels of it. So let's kind of like start from the beginning and how it all came about. And you have what's called the Sirius star constellation. And the Sirius star constellation, from my research, is the parent constellation of our solar system. When you look at our solar system, everything from our solar system came here via Sirius some kind of way. And you have Sirius is in what you call the Canis Major star constellation, then you have the Canis Minor star constellation. So let's start with so-called black people. Now, when you deal with black people, because I'm using this for lack of a better word, because this is what you guys understand. You guys are caught up in race. You have different species of black people. Some people say there's 7 different species of black people. Some people say there's more than that. If you want to understand black people, you have to start studying the tribes in Africa. You have the Watusis. You have the Pygmies. You have all of these different tribes in Africa. And scientists will tell you that the Pygmy being was the oldest being on this planet, according to their research. These are the oldest bones found of a woman, a pygmy woman, that was found in Kenya. And these bones are like 3 million, 4 million years old. And these are what you would call, they're part of it's called the pygmy race, or class of beings. Now this, you have to remember, this is on this earth though. This is on this earth. They're the oldest class of beings on this earth, but what about in Sirius? See, there's a lot going on that scientists have not really caught up to yet, because we can't go to Sirius. We can send robots and stuff like that far out to the universe, but we really have not been to Sirius yet, except for those people that are really good at astro traveling and embrace that, and that can telepathically go there. But if you go there, you'll find that really what's going on with the pygmy race is that they came from what's called the Rumardian, or the gray race. They're extraterrestrial beings. And the Rumardian, or the gray race, they were always scouts. So the reason why you find them as being the oldest class of beings is because they started sending those beings here as scouts first. But they're higher up beings even than that. See, everything goes back to ether. So the Etherians, or the etheric beings, which are beings that do not manifest in any kind of flesh. They're ether, and they can take on many different forms. These are actually your oldest beings. They have no color, no skin tone, no anything like that. We're talking about ether here. We're talking about ether is essentially a burning sensation or a vibration or the way that a being vibrates. So when you say that you're an Etherian, this means that you can change your vibration. You can vibrate to a level to where you're unseen and disappear, or you can slow down your vibration and become more dense and become more gross to take on a persona or a certain image. So Etherian is a very interesting being because the Etherian can look like just about any type of extraterrestrial. So that's the highest being, that's the top. So from Etherians, they did experiments and more beings wanted to fall from the state of being Etherians and they wanted to become more physical. So from the Etherians, you get what you would call melanated beings that look like me, or melanated beings that may even look darker than me, that have kingly hair and things of that nature. That's the first level of it. Then you go down, you have reptilian type of beings, and that's, there's reptilian beings that look just like lizards. Some of them look like snakes. Some of them, you have turtles, which are like amphibians. They're amphibian type of beings. These are beings that exist in water. And in Sirius, they have like over 30 different planets. In Sirius, it's a 3-sun constellation. The Sirius star constellation has 3 different suns. And they have like 30 something planets. And I'm getting ready to get my Sirius map back. And I'm going to show you guys. Somebody depicted Sirius, a channeler depicted and drew Sirius. He drew the art of Sirius or whatever and how it would look. It's actually Tibetan. He's a Tibetan yogi from Tibet. He drew this or whatever. And I'm going to get this map back really soon because I just found a source to be able to get it. I had it and I kind of lost it or whatever. But I'm going to show you guys Sirius at one. I'm going to do a whole video on Sirius. We'll talk about that. But Sirius is the parent or the father star constellation that where most of the life that is here right now comes from. All of those 24 different alien races, most of them spend time in Sirius. Even the dolphins. The dolphins come from Sirius. The dolphins are just like humans except they have an extra chromosome. They're just like humans. So you have all these different beings. The dog head beings, the cat head beings, the beings you see depicted in Kemet. These are real live beings on the walls of pyramids. These are what you would call ET beings that all come from Sirius. So that's Canis Major. Then you have a group of beings that wanted to break off and they went into what's called Canis Minor. And I talked a little bit about Canis Minor in my video on marijuana. And in Canis Minor, this is where you get the beings that look similar to what you would call Hindus, or what you would call the Aryan race, or what you would call, Aryan means noble. So a lot of people, they hear Aryan and they go back to that racism stuff and go, oh, that's racism. That's racism. We're talking about the Aryan race. They're racist. They don't like black people. See, you don't overstand. They're saying they're the better race and they're the noble race. Yeah, some people may have took that information and went to town with it and they feel like they're better because they started studying the Aryan doctrine. And it is a pretty deep doctrine. Like Madame Blavatsky and them, they studied the Aryan doctrine. It's a lot you can get from that. Adolf Hitler and them, they were studying the Aryan doctrine. See, what's going on is that it's like this. Most of the Aryan race, they speak what's called the Indo-European languages. So when you talk about white people or Europeans, what you have to realize is that there's different species of white people or Europeans. I'm going to talk about 2 of them here. You have the Aryans, or what you would call the Nordic race, and this is what you would call the superior race, and these are blonde-haired, blue-eyed beings that are, most of them are 7 feet tall, really tall. And these beings are older than, I guess you could say, these white people that may have red hair, and I'm not trying to knock anybody. It is what it is, or green eyes, or they consider they're older. And this is the real Caucasian race. See, the real Caucasian race comes from what's called the Caucasus Mountains. And this is in Russia. So a lot of your Aryan race or your Nordic race comes from like Russia and Germany. This particular group of white people are much older than the white people that come via, because there's another group of white people that come via South American Peninsula. There's another breed of white people that come from there, from the Yucatan Peninsula. They had a strand of white people that came from there. See, these type of white people came from the Anunnaki experiments. And this is a separate, see, the Anunnaki experiment type of white people are separate from the Nordic or Aryan race, with the blonde hair and blue eyes. See, the Nordic or Aryan race, they've been going to different star constellations for a long time, and they came to Earth a long time ago. See, and a lot of people try to teach that white people were clones and all of that, but there's a group of white people that are clones, just like there's a group of black people that are clones, so-called black. I'm using these terms very loosely. But then you have a group of black people that are the original melanated group of black people. And these particular black people come from, these particular group of black people come from Sirius. And this was what I was telling you about. These are the group of black people that are what you would call Etherians. And these particular Etherians, they slowed down their vibration. They became what you would call melanated beings. So there's different types and different groups of particular people out there. When you say somebody's black, just because I look like you does not mean you have to do my blood. This is where I'm getting at. Excuse me for looking around. I have a little distraction here, but you have to look at my blood. And my particular blood will tell you a lot about my blood type, which I'm going to do a whole video talking about that. But my blood type will tell you a lot about the type of being that I am. You can't just go off of the way I look. A lot of times, because they're different. There's like, what, 20 something different blood types or whatever. And I'm going to do videos specifically to that. But there's a lot about blood that we don't realize. So it's the same thing with white people. You have a group of white people that were part of the Anunnaki experiments, and then what you would call the slaves of the Adama race, which is black people were part of that too. A lot of different races sprung from that. Then you have a group of white people that were a part of the Canis Minor star constellation. They're called what you would call the Nordic or the noble race, or what you would call the Aryan race. And even your Hindus are considered Nordics. See, and they use a figure, a symbol called the swastika. You call it the swastika. But really, the swastika is a symbol dealing with north, south, east, and west. It's really a symbol dealing with how to bend the elements. The swastika is a symbol that they a lot of times would use to put spells on people. They were using the so-called swastika long before it became associated with racism and these Aryans that feel like they're better than black people and skinheads and all that type of stuff. They were using a swastika in mystery schools. You got to study the Theosophical Society and things of that nature. And that's where the Theosophical Society, what they're studying is they're studying a lot about the Aryan or the noble race, the Aryan race, or what you call the Nordic race. So that's what you guys have to realize whenever you deal with race. So these group of so-called white people that came from Canis Minor, they moved and they were traveling around the solar system. They went into Pleiades, so you'll see Pleiadians that look like them. You'll see even beings in Sirius. Some of them live in Sirius, and Sirius star in Canis Major. In Sirius, they have different. See, they have peace agreements. So they have many beings that live in Sirius. They have peace agreements. So when you say, so when I tell a person you're from Sirius and your star origins, you're a Syrian, that's like basically telling a person that you're an American. It doesn't really say that. That's like saying you're Russian. That's like saying you're from Iran. Just because you're from Iran, there's different classes of beings in Iran. Actually, the term Iran means Aryan. That's where it comes from. So even the Iranians are part of the Aryan race. So when you deal with these different like star constellations, you say you're from Sirius. That doesn't tell you the species of being that you are. A lot of people get confused with that. They get confused with species and then race. I mean, species and then star constellation. The star constellation is the group that you're a part of, and it could be many different hues a part of that group. Just like on this the Star Trek shit, there's different beings. You got the Klingons, all kind of different beings on Star Trek. You know what I'm saying? Even in Star Wars, all kind of different beings that may travel on the same voyage, and they all have peace agreements. And some beings work together, and other beings are more malicious, and they can't work with other beings. So at the end of the day, like you say, you're from Pleiades, you got reptilians that live in Pleiades. The reptilians started living in Pleiades even before the Aryans came there. And a lot of people, they think, well, you say you're from Pleiades, that's white people. Those are white people, and I'm not from no Pleiades. I want to know where the black people, the African American extraterrestrials came from. They from all over. It just depends on where your soul originated at what point in evolution and extraterrestrial evolution that your soul originated from. Some people's souls, even as melanated people, does not go back to Sirius. Just because you're melanated, that does not mean you go back to Sirius. You might not go back that far. You may have originated during experiments and Pleiades. See, what you have to realize is that the Anunnaki did experiments all over. And when I say Anunnaki, that's just a voyage. That's just a group. Like that's just like saying the Star Trek group. When you say Anunnaki, that just means those that came from the stars into Earth. And there's various different Earths. There's an Earth type planet in Pleiades. There's an Earth type planet in Sirius. There's an Earth type planet. There's different Earths all over the stars. Andromeda. I mean, all over. So you have all of these different beings from different star constellations, and the thing is that you have to really understand each class. Like some people say that the Greys are more so like Asians, and the Greys linked to Asians. It's not true. There's Asian the Greys. There was a Grey, a part of the experiment to create what you would call your modern day Chinese people or Thai people or Chinese people. Of course, just like there were Greys a part of the experiments that you took to create beings from East Africa, from Kenya, from Ethiopia, and things of that nature. There were Greys to create the Pygmy tribe. And then in the Watusi tribe, it was more so reptilian dominated with the Dogons and all of that. The Dogons are more so reptilian dominated. And then when you deal with reptilians, people say, well, reptilians are bad and we got to murk all the reptilians and eliminate, eradicate these damn reptilians because they're taking over the earth. The reptilians, some of them are very peaceful, vegetarian types, and then you have the malicious types that feast off of humans. So you can't really, when you start dealing with extraterrestrials, this is why a lot of you get tortured and terrorized by extraterrestrials, because you have a malicious way of looking at humans, and not only humans but species, different species of people. This is why you have bad dreams and you see dreams of extraterrestrials terrorizing you. It's because there's something in you, there's a dark part in you that doesn't want to accept different species of people. And you can't join the Galactic Federation to get initiated in that unless you have a level of acceptance of other beings, other classes of beings. So this is a very, very key video with just understanding. I mean, there's more beings. I didn't talk about every being, but the thing is that you have to realize as humans, none of you, mostly none, no human is really a pure noble or an Aryan. See, an Aryan or a noble is somebody that's pure to their particular class. They have no very, very little mixtures. See, like the Aryan race, the reason why they consider themselves exclusive is because they didn't do a lot of mixing with other races. They had respect for those particular alien races, but they didn't mix their genes in. And a lot of people can't say that. See, most people in America especially are not nobles. So you could consider yourself an Aryan and be melanated just like me, or and have kingly, kinky hair just like me, and can still consider yourself an Aryan, because it depends on your blood. Your blood tells a lot about, did you mix with outside races, or were you true to, and what your ancestors really is what it would go into, or your DNA, was it true to, like, did your ancestors mostly mix in with one particular group or stay within a particular species, as far as, and like how close are you to being identifiable with your parent species that you may come from. So that's what that comes down to. And I'm not trying to confuse you guys, but you're not going to really understand or understand this unless you understand the different alien races. Like, you have to really start to do research, and then you have to come back and ask questions of people that may know. So when you get online and you see somebody saying they represent Andromeda and they look so-called white, you might automatically think, oh, the Andromedans are white. Or, you see somebody, they say they represent Sirius and they're usually melanated and look like me. They're like, oh, all the Sirians are melanated and they're dark. It doesn't go like that, because that's a constellation. What about the species? And any human is basically what you would call a hybrid for the most part anyway. So even though you may be a noble human, which means you're a pretty undiluted hybrid, which means your ancestors didn't do a lot of race mix, and like they didn't mix with a Chinese person that run around and then mix with somebody from Iran, that run around and mix with somebody from South America, and then like crossed around like that. Some people are like that, but your ancestors more so stuck with a certain line of extraterrestrials and came down. They may have did a little mixing here and there, but for the most part, your blood was essentially one type or one class or whatever. So that will be like a pure hybrid, and then you have particular humans that mixed in with a lot of different classes and extraterrestrials, and that's okay too, because the extraterrestrials and those people that know, they talk about this superior human that has to come about, and this superior human that comes about has an understanding of all the different extraterrestrial races. And not only that, but they're able to fuse in all the different extraterrestrial races into one particular person or one particular body or one particular family or one particular tribe. So what I'm saying here is that this superior group, humans are not going to perfect our genes until actually we do all come together and we do all mix in and we do all basically become this master race, because we understand, because this particular human would be someone that has the Andromedan blood in them, or the Asian blood in them, or someone that has the Indo-European blood in them, someone that has so-called Caucasian blood in them. They have all these different bloodlines, so they can go back into their DNA and learn the lessons, and go back into their DNA through meditation and learn the lessons from all of these different extraterrestrial groups, so then they can eliminate racism and division and things of that nature. Because I think, this is just my opinion, that's what it's going to take in order for us to get initiated fully into the Galactic Federation. I mean, it's not guaranteed. Like, I'm not saying that this has to happen, that we all have to mix in, but I think this, what you would call the 13th bloodline, is probably going to be the thing that remedies our problems. Because as you can see, when we see somebody different from us or that doesn't look like us, we want to get racist and call them names. And like, you haven't even seen some of the gruesome looking extraterrestrials. How are you going to react to that? You react crazy just because you see a melanated individual up here talking on a video, and you going off or whatever, talking about aliens, and you going off saying nigger this and nigger that, black man this, black you number, black nigger, blah blah blah. You can't even deal with that. So how would you deal with if you did really see a extraterrestrial that manifested, that looked like a crocodile, but it was standing upright and it was speaking your language? How would you be able to deal with that? That's what you have to ask yourself. And most of you say, I want to see it, I want to get initiated, I want to be a part of the group. You don't. No, you don't, because you still. And then another thing is, you're still eating meats and stuff like that. You're eating dead carcass that's been sitting for like 3 months. Most of the meat you get from the supermarket has been sitting for 3 months before you can even consume it. So don't tell me you want to be a part of my heritage and you're still doing that, or be a part of my think tank and you're still doing that. Because it's no room for that with me. Because my line of people that I deal with in the Starseed think tank that I'm putting together, it's not about what species of ETs you are, but it is about, see, I'm basing it all off of your spirituality. I'm basing it off of the fact that you can't even go 2 months without having sex. I'm basing it off the fact that you can't even go, basically not even go, you can't even cut off the meat, the dead carcass. See, a real live meat eater will eat meat uncooked and eat it alive. If you was a real meat eater, why are you cooking it? That's nasty and that's filthy. So even an extraterrestrial that eats meat, a real live extraterrestrial that eats meat, is going to bite into that meat and eat it while the blood's still pumping through that animal. That's why they murk their animals like that, while they're alive, and they eat them like that. So you're not vicious like that. So you're not no real live meat eater. You're just a zombie that's watching the television, and you see a piece of meat and it looks good because you've been taught to do this ever since you was a baby. You want to go eat it. See, that's my problem with why I don't really accept a lot of people into my personal circle, because I can sense if you're eating meat. I can sense if a woman is on her cycle and I smell her. I can tell if she eats meat or if she doesn't. You can even tell by the scent if a woman is on her cycle, if she eats meat or if she doesn't. So I'm not inviting somebody like that into my circle, cipher, into my think tank, because we're not going to be successful like that. You can't even get off sugars, and you want to call yourself, some star genes. You want to be a part of the star seed movement and all of that. You can't even do these things. So my movement is not based on any of that. It's not based on racism. That's why I don't care. If you know where I'm hotel, I teach people that it's not really about blood with me. It's about the soul. I'm trying to find people in my soul group. And I know that people that are in my soul group have the same spirit and soul as me. And we're not meat eaters. We meditate every day. We live this lifestyle, and we don't hate on other races. We love everybody. You see, like, that's people that's in my soul group. I don't look at a person and be like, they're white, and prejudge them. Many of you do. You do it. If you see someone and they're black, or, so-called black, if you see someone and they're white, you put this into this box. And you don't have to tell me that you do it. You don't have to leave it in the comments, but you do it. And if you're doing that, you're not ready to get into the Galactic Federation, because you can't even make a peace agreement with somebody because of the way they look or the way they act. So it's a lot, man. It's a lot. But I just wanted to kind of classify these different beings, because I believe that will help you guys to understand that you are already a mixture of these beings anyway. Most of you are not pure anything. If you're a human, you are a hybrid. You're mixed up with a bunch of different races anyway, and you have to go within your DNA and figure out each particular class of beings that are in your DNA, so you can break the confusion and become a member of the 13th bloodline. Because a member of the 13th bloodline is someone that separated the barriers and has broke the spell on racism and classism, and they know that they're not no better or no worse than any type of being out there, and they understand different beings and where they're coming from, their background, and they get as much information from them as they can to move on their journey. This is a part of unlimited progress. So I have to teach this type of information about the different races because a lot of people are still racist, man. So I hope that helps you guys to understand the different races, and where they come from. I touched on, particularly each one. I really didn't talk a lot about the the Asian race or whatever, like dealing with the Chinese race. And the Chinese, see, they come from a separate star constellation. A lot of them are connected to the Andromeda star constellation as well as the Canis Minor star constellation as well, because the Chinese people are connected to the Hindu people or the Indian people, and they're all a part of the Nordic race. They came from the north down into the south. So a lot of these particular beings that are part of the Aryan race, they mixed in with different beings that were already there. So you had a group of Indians that were just what you call the Dravidians that were already in India, and they mixed in with being the Nordic race. A lot of them mixed in. Some of them didn't. Some of them kept just on both sides. Like some of the Nordic race kept their genes pure. They didn't mix in. They kind of stayed isolated to themselves. They didn't come down and mix in and conquer and mix in with the women of the South. But then you had some people from the South that didn't mix in. They didn't mix in with the Nordic race, and they didn't mix their genes. But a lot of the Chinese, there's different type of Chinese people, but a lot of them are a mixture. They're a mixed race or whatever, a mixture of different type of beings or whatever. But primarily, a lot of them come from the Andromeda star constellation. And when you talk about melanin, these are all melanated beings. Any being out here has melanin because you can't exist on this planet without it. Even when they may be melanin deficient when it comes to skin, but they still have melanin in the inside in their brain. So you have to study melanin. Melanin produces itself on the skin, but it also produces itself internally in the brain. So when you talk about, well, there's the melanated beings and the non-melanated beings, I mean, nobody's really non-melanated. Some of them are more melanin deficient, and then they may have different powers on another end than people that are melanin dominant. But at the end of the day, because people that are melanin dominant, they can use that against you and feed you certain foods, and you take it willingly. And big fat meat eaters walk around talking about you melanated, but you about 300 pounds. Like, get the fuck out of here. You're not better than anybody. You eat meat. This is why I focus on people becoming more spiritual in their diet and meditation, because at the end of the day, if you're not doing that, you can't be a Jedi. I'm trying to start the Order of the Jedi or the School of Tahuti. You can't be a part of that school if you still eating a certain way and you still taking in, and you can't break from processed foods. You still have preconceived racist notions and your thinking is warped. Or you get mad because you see somebody with money and you don't got it. So you can't be in this order, buddy, with that, because we're not going to be able to conquer this world, which we will do because we're warriors. Just because I'm a vegetarian don't mean I will fight you. I will murk you. Like, straight up, if you try to challenge and test me and mine, I will murk you. Like, it's no fear in my heart, no passivity in my heart. So don't let anybody tell you just because you're a vegetarian, you gotta be passive and, oh, peace and namaste. There's a group of beings like that. That's not me. I'm an indigo. I'm a radical, man. I resist bullshit. I'm stand up for justice. So I hope that helped. I could go on and on and on, but just want to kind of break down all the races for you. I think I covered everybody: the Chinese, the so-called Caucasians. I covered the melanated groups, and I mean I could go on and on. I mean there's subclasses and subclasses. I mean you have dwarfs and fairies and all kind of stuff out there. Dragons and dolphins. All of these are different beings that took part in the evolution of humans and how we got here. You have vampires. See, all of this is a part of our blood, and it's all of it is different doctrines and different schools, and you have to come into the realm and the school of the occult to really over enter and understand it. But don't come with your racist glasses on. Come with an open mind and a pure heart, but also be ready to go to war with bullshit. And I'll leave you in that. Until we meet again, namaste.